Hi, it's Martin in Arlo, and welcome back to our house on this nice day in May. Today we are going to make sourdough focaccia. Sourdough focaccia. So a regular focaccia, so flour, water, salt, olive oil, sourdough starter. This also has a little bit of yeast in it. That's okay. The sourdough starter that's used is going to infuse this with a lot of flavor, and the yeast is going to help it move at an appreciable rate. Could you do this just straight sourdough? You could, but the timings are going to change a little bit. I'm not opposed to using yeast and sourdough together. I think that it's good to think of these things in not such black and white terms. It's not like sourdough against commercial yeast or anything like that. Use commercial yeast when you need to. It's okay. It works well in this recipe and it's very good. So sourdough culture and a little bit of commercial yeast. It's okay. So this recipe makes a full half sheet tray of focaccia. It makes a full half sheet tray, 13 by 18. If you want to split it into two 9 by 13 pans, you can do that. And I've done that with one of them. Now, my favorite way to have focaccia is actually just with olive oil and salt. I like it just with olive oil and salt. You really taste the bread. It has a nice crisp texture. But we felt like doing something a little bit more creative today and bringing some color in. And so we decorated a couple of them. I did this one, and Anthem, come here and I'll walk you through it real quickly. I did this one with Kalamata olives for the seeds, and these are just yellow bell peppers. I got dandelion greens and salt and pepper, asparagus, blah, blah, blah. Pretty good. I made one yesterday and it was good. Do you want to put that in? Put that in there on the bottom rack, please.
Timer?
Yeah, timer we'll start with 20 and we're going to definitely add to that. And this one is the same exact dough, but what I did was I boiled 2 large beets cut up, and then I cooled the water, and then I used the water for my dough water. So I just used beet water for my dough water. I thought it was pretty. I've done that some with bread doughs, and I like the color. It doesn't taste like beets really, and some of the color will go away as it bakes, but it's kind of fun. And I thought that might be a fun sort of twist on that. And then on top, I just have pickled beets and radishes. I have Kalamata olives, capers, a little bit of hard cheese that's grated, asparagus, yellow bell peppers. I mean, this is like, our CSA is coming online now, and we're starting to see greens and things like that. Obviously, up here in Vermont, we don't have bell peppers yet, but we're starting to see some of the fresh produce, so it's super exciting for us, right? Okay. We do have asparagus, so everything's getting asparagus today. And there's that one.
Can I put it in correctly?
No, perfect, good job. And then I did another one. I was thinking, let's try and make a bouquet. If you look around on the internet, you'll find tons of inspiration for garden focaccia. That one's gonna have to wait a little bit because the oven, because I don't have any more space. Focaccia, let me just talk for like 1 or 2 minutes, hopefully. Cut me off, okay?
Okay.
Count to 120. Focaccia. Focaccia's in a class of very old breads. Panis focaccius was one of the very early breads, or that style of breads. Panis focaccius is what they refer to it as in Latin, which means bread of the ashes. Focaccius means out of the ashes, right? And so focaccia is a remnant of that old bread, because back in a long time ago, and there's archaeological evidence from 14,000 years ago, that people were making breads and baking them on ashes, on hot coals, and turning them. There's actually evidence of that which predates modern agriculture. So for a long time we've been making these breads. Pizza is in this same sort of class of breads. And you can look into the etymology of that a lot, of focaccia and focus and fireplace and all these different things. So focaccia, very old bread, very delicious bread, and it's not terribly fussy. I did really fussy things with it today, probably too fussy. But the nice thing about focaccia is that you don't really have to shape it. You just mix it, ferment it, and then you dump it into the pan. And so let's see how to do that. So this is, like I said, this recipe makes one 13 by 18, which is a half sheet tray. It makes one of those. That's a pretty big focaccia. If you have a 9 by 13 pan, you can split the batch in half, and you can do 2 pans, Or if you prefer, you could do a half batch. Just cut it in half. It's one of the beautiful things about bread is that bread is a linear equation, which means that if you want to make one baguette, it's a certain quantity measured by weight. And then if you multiply that quantity by 400, you can make 400 baguettes. It's just a multiplication. It's kind of cool, right? So you can elaborate it and grow it really nicely. Okay, so this dough I mixed earlier today. And in the recipe, what the recipe has you do is it has you mix the dough and then let it ferment, and then you fold it a little bit, and then you dump it into a pan and you put it into the fridge overnight. I did it that way too, and I found that it was good. It almost had too much flavor for me. Mine got a little bit sour, and I don't really want focaccia that's super sour. It's just not in the nature of kind of what I'm used to eating. And you know, Mom and I lived in Italy for a while before you guys were around, and we ate a lot of focaccia and other delicious Italian treats. So I have a special place in my heart for focaccia and pizza and things like that. Okay, so I mixed this today. I fermented it for 2.5 hours or so. It's been a little while. I think the recipe says 2, but I went a little over. That's okay. And now it's ready to go into the pan. And the nice thing about focaccia is it's literally there. It's pretty much done shaping. That's about all you need to do to shape focaccia. It's super pillowy, right?
Very.
Super pillowy. What you can do now is there's a bunch of olive oil in the bottom of the pan. If it's a half sheet tray, then you use 2 tablespoons. If it's just a 9 by 13, then it's 1. Okay, come here, buddy. So what I want you to do, and this is the shaping. I guess this is technically the shaping, right? Like in baguettes, we have a different way of shaping.
Yeah.
But in focaccia and pizza too, to a certain degree, if we're making like a pan pizza, we press it into place with our fingers. And let me show you how to do that. So it's not. You can be pretty rough with it. That's the other nice thing about this is you can kind of be pretty rough with it. So what we're going to do is we're going to stipple it, almost like giving it a hard massage with our fingers. We're going to kind of stipple it or poke holes in it and press it into shape. And then if it's not really stretching very well, then what we can do is we can wait. And that's what the recipe says. It's like start and like press it into form until it feels like it doesn't want to do it anymore. And then, you know, go walk around the block, go call a friend or whatever it is you want to do. So I'm going to start this and then I'm going to have you take over, okay? So with my fingers, and because I turned it, it has not a lot of olive oil on there, and my fingers aren't going to stick. So I literally kind of just press it into place. Do you see how I'm doing that? It feels really good. Okay, you do that.
Wait.
Yeah, spread your fingers out and almost like think of your hands as a tool. Yep. Good. Yep, keep pressing. Yep. Yeah, good idea. Turn it around and go that way. Yep, good idea. And you can press hard. Watch this. You can press pretty hard. Like get it in there.
Okay.
See how I'm doing that? And
Really
move your hands. Yeah, move your hands. It's super satisfying, right? And you can press your hands against the side. Now, if you're doing that at home and it's not working or it's not quite seeming like it's that easy, then like I said, just wait and come back. It's okay. But if the dough is well fermented and if it says 2 hours and you go 3 hours, don't worry about it. It's okay. This is a very forgiving dough. That looks perfect. Let me take one quick turn and then I think we can actually top it. So I'm just going to make sure that when I go down with my hands, I'm making sure that it feels even from end to end because I want it to be really homogeneous in its depth. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So I think at this point you can absolutely proceed to topping it. And will you grab me some salt? Grab me a little bit of salt. I forgot my salt. If you're gonna do, I mean, the options are endless for what you have. Can you find it? Yeah, look around. If you don't find it, I'll salt it in just a second. Okay. The options are endless. You can salt and pepper first. You can put olive oil on. I have a little bit of, I crushed a garlic clove into some olive oil, and I'm just gonna paint it with that a little bit. And it's okay to be pretty aggressive with this. Look in the spice cupboard, buddy. Up top. Thank you.
There we go.
Okay, bring it over. So, it's a pretty generous quantity of olive oil, right?
Yeah.
And pretty generous quantity of salt. Focaccia is in the pizza class, and so I like to make sure that I have, it's almost like garnished bread. That's the way that I think of pizza, is garnished bread. Okay, there's that. I was thinking about making this one just super simple, but do you have something that you want to do on there?
No, I don't think so.
Just simple? Okay. If you do it really simply like this, the nice thing to do is to cut it open like we did last night for dinner, right?
Yeah.
So last night for dinner we took a focaccia and we split it open, and then we toasted it on the broiler for just a second. We put beet hummus and then some nice cheese from Vermont Farmstead, like a nice soft brine cheese, yeah, kind of like a brie. And then we put pickled beets and radishes. What else did I have on there? Asparagus.
Yeah.
Asparagus, and then balsamic glaze, and then just ate them as open face.
It was really good.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, this
Right?
is so good.
Okay. Do you want to put some pepper on there?
How much?
Just put a heavy amount. Same thing with the salt. We're kind of going, I like to season those pretty generously.
So more than this?
Yeah, I think that's pretty good. What do you think? Pretty good?
Probably.
Should we put a little bit of cheese on and then be done?
Sure.
This is a good cheese, aged cheese, like a kind of like a Parmesan, that has a little bit of Merlot on the rind. It's good. Okay. All right. So eventually we're going to get that in the oven. I would let this rise for a little bit. Since we just degassed it, I would let it come back up. Maybe half an hour, 45 minutes. It wouldn't even hurt it if it were an hour. It's no big deal. Just watch it, and when it's puffy and feels like it's air-filled, then we're going to put it in.
Okay.
What would happen if you baked it right now? It would be fine too. It wouldn't be as lofty, but it's okay. It's going to be delicious. So we're going to get these in, and then we're going to come back and see how our decorative ones go. Okay? Awesome. All right, so let's put this aside. All right, see what's going on here. Yeah, it's getting there. It's pretty close. Close. I think it's done. It's done. Let's look at this guy. This one needs a little bit more. Leave that. Okay, let's take it over here. So it looks pretty good. Actually, will you turn that fan off? Here a little better. Okay, I think it looks pretty good. It's a little bit light in here, just a little bit, but it's done. And I know because I looked underneath and it's nice and crispy. I see a lot of people baking these really light because they don't want to lose the color of the what am I trying to say? Of the vegetables. And I would say just make sure it's done. Bake it. That color is flavor. So I'm brushing it with a little bit of the olive oil with garlic in it. And Arla, come smell this with your face. That's your job right now.
That smells so
Smells
good
insane,
with like
right?
the olive oil and garlic.
Yep, yep.
It's insane. I'm excited.
Okay, let's see what we got here. Yeah. See how it has nice color along this edge? We really want that. And all of that olive oil in the pan will help to make that crust really crispy. I'm putting it on a cooling rack because if we don't put it on the cooling rack, it's just going to steam and it's not going to be that great. So focaccia, you don't have to make it fancy like that. You can do it like we did it. You just ferment it, dump it out of the pan, and then just use your hands to shape it into place, proof it a little bit, and bake it. It's really that easy. It's a very low fuss dough. You stop that? So it's a very low fuss dough. The other thing, let's see, if you don't want to do a sourdough version, no big deal. There's some versions on the website that don't even have sourdough in them, so you can just skip it. You can make it in an afternoon, and I encourage you to sort of add your own twist on things. So this is another Martin Bakes with Martin and Arlo and Anthem behind the camera, and we want to say thank you to you and yours for joining us and baking with us, and we'll see you again soon. So cheers.
Yeah.
Thanks, buddy.